Maersk Alabama is a container ship that was taken over by Somali pirates about 2 years ago now. 3 pirates and Captain Phillips ended up in a lifeboat off of the Maersk Alabama. The pirates were trying to take Captain Phillips ashore to hold him for ransom. But the lifeboat they were on ran out of fuel before it could get to shore, so it ended up being towed by the Bainbridge for a while. Of carrying up to 402 Marines. I'll explain more about how the Marines are transported to and from the much larger amphibious assault ships that we'll see later on at the base today. Also to our right now, the eastern branch of Elizabeth River. Spanning across eastern branch is the Berkeley Bridge, which is part of Interstate 264. It connects to the downtown tunnel, which passes below the southern branch, which is back behind us now. Ahead of us and to our right, the downtown Norfolk waterfront. Tall brown building to our right is Dominion Tower, standing at 26 stories. It's the tallest building in the downtown area. To the left of Dominion Tower, you'll see the waterside Sheraton, which offers. Ahead of us to our right, past Town Point Park, large gray structure is Nauticus, the National Maritime Center, a $52 million maritime museum that features a variety of exhibits such as interactive videos, hands-on simulations, and many traveling exhibits on loan from other museums. Ahead of us to our right, next to Nauticus, you'll see the new Half Moon Cruise and Celebration Center. It's a cruise ship terminal and convention center in one. An 80,000 square foot multi-purpose facility recently constructed at the cost of $36 million. The pier coming up on our right is where the cruise ships dock. Most of the cruises that run out of Norfolk are cruises to Bermuda, the Bahamas, and the Caribbean. Ahead of us to our right, past the cruise ship terminal, we'll see the Battleship Wisconsin coming into view. She bears the hull number 64. Wisconsin is an Iowa-class battleship, last of the 4 that were constructed. Wisconsin was commissioned April 16, 1944, her first service being World War II. Wisconsin is around a large ship, 887.5 feet long, weighs in at 45,000 gross tons, and originally carried a crew of 2,900 sailors on board. As we pass the ship, I'll point out her weapons. If you look on the rear deck of the Wisconsin, you'll see 3 very large guns. Those are 16-inch guns, the largest guns ever deployed on a United States naval warship. There's a total of 9 of them on board the Wisconsin. The guns are situated 3 to a turret. 1 turret on the rear of the ship, the other 2 turrets are located up forward. The barrels on those guns are the approximate length of a tractor-trailer rig, which is about 60 feet long. They're capable of firing a 2,700-pound projectile up to 23 nautical miles. Also on board the Wisconsin are 12 smaller 5-inch guns, 6 of them located on either side of the superstructure of the ship. Ahead of us to our right, the highlight of our tour is Naval Station Norfolk, largest military station in the world. This base is located on the point of land at a Sewell's Point, covers an area of 3,400 acres. The base is home to a variety of naval warships, submarines, as well as aircraft you may see in here flying over us today. Air operations at Naval Station Norfolk conduct an average of 275 flights per day. That's a flight about every 8 minutes, well over 100,000 flights per year. First pier of the naval base is pier number 1. We're not expecting to see any ships there right now. They're making repairs to that pier. And further ahead of us to our right, pier 2. There are 4 rather impressive ships at pier 2 today. I'll start by telling you there are only 2 classes of ships in the Navy that are equipped with a high-tech computer and radar weapon system known as Aegis. The first Aegis-equipped ships that I'll point out today are the Early Bird class Aegis guided missile destroyers, which are the newest of the 2 classes of ships in Aegis. Ahead of us to our right, south side of Pier 2, we'll see ship number 71, that is the USS Ross. Right behind the Ross, a very special ship, number 67, which happens to be the USS Cole. And on the north side of Pier 2, past number 71, is number 61, the USS Ramage. Again, all 3 of those ships are Early Bird class destroyers, newest of the 2 classes of ships in the Navy equipped with Aegis. As we're moving along, if you look on the superstructures of the 3 ships that I've just mentioned, you'll notice there are angled sides. Up on the angled sides, there are large gray plates shaped almost like stop signs. The plates are painted a little bit lighter shade of gray than the rest of the ship. Those are the phased array radar plates for the Aegis weapon system. There's a total of 4 of these stationary plates around the superstructure on an Aegis-equipped ship. The plates are used to emit a constant pulsing signal that is sent out and received simultaneously and has the ability of tracking over 200 targets all at the same time. The system is so smart and sensitive it can even determine if the target is tracking or a friendly or hostile target. Once the system is deemed the target to be hostile, it will automatically select and can fire the appropriate weapon needed to destroy that incoming target. Weapons aboard these ships are quite impressive. On the bow of each ship is a fully automatic 5-inch deck gun that can fire over 20 rounds per minute and have an effective range of 13.5 nautical miles. Missiles typically found on board these ships include the Tomahawk cruise missiles, used primarily as a long-range land attack missile. The Harpoon anti-ship missile, used for anti-ship warfare, can take out an enemy surface ship well over the horizon. Also on board are standard surface-to-air missiles that are used to knock down airborne threats. Function of the fast attack sub is to seek out and destroy the enemy sub and also strike land-based threats from hundreds of miles away. Each sub is equipped with 4 torpedo tubes used to launch the Mark 48 torpedo. Mark 48 is a heavyweight wire-guided torpedo that can deliver a 650-pound high-explosive warhead to a target of up to 23 nautical miles. Also on board most of the subs are Tomahawk cruise missiles. Tomahawks used primarily as a long-range land attack missile that can be tipped with either a nuclear or a conventional warhead. Depending on the version of the missile, it can have a strike range of 700 to 900 nautical miles when launched from one of these subs. To put that into perspective for you, if the Navy wanted to, they could take out Mickey Mouse at Disney World with a Tomahawk cruise missile launched from a sub here at the Naval Base. Not that the Navy would want to take out Mickey Mouse with a $1 million Tomahawk cruise missile. It was just a fun example. Now, the subs to our right are all nuclear powered, each powered by a single nuclear reactor that will power the subs for 15 to 20 years in between refuelings. That's equal to about 1.5 million miles of steaming time. The subs are 360 feet long, 33 feet wide, each with a crew of 133. In case you're wondering, submarines are very expensive. At last check, they were about $2.3 billion apiece. Next up on our right, pier number 4, one ship at pier 4 today. That is a Ticonderoga class Aegis guided missile cruiser. Hull number 60, the USS Normandy. That's a ship all by herself at pier 4. Ticonderoga class cruisers were the very first class of ship in the Navy to come online with Aegis. Very similar to the Arleigh Burke class destroyers that we saw earlier at pier 2, similar as far as the radar and weapon systems are concerned. But the Ticonderoga class cruisers are older and a bit larger in size. They're 567 feet long, 55 feet wide, also have a larger crew of 385. They're older, so a little less expensive, costing just under $1 billion apiece. Next pier coming up on our right, Pier 5, on the south side of Pier 5. Get a great view of one of the Navy's newer Arleigh Burke class destroyers. This is number 107, the USS Gravely. It's a little different than the other Arleigh Burkes we saw earlier at Pier 2. The Gravely is larger, 509 feet long. Newer ones are built larger to make space for helicopter hangars that have been added to the design of the ship. It allows the new Arleigh Burkes to carry 2 helicopters on board while at sea. New Arleigh Burkes also have upgraded weapons. The ship has an upgraded 5-inch 62 caliber deck gun up on her bow. And there are a total of 96 vertical missile cells below the decks of the new Arleigh Burkes. Very expensive ship, costing just under $2 billion. I mentioned the new destroyers like the Gravely to our right have helicopter hangars that are added to the design. If you look on the rear of the ship over to our right, you'll see 4 white vertical lines. The helicopter hangar doors are to the left and right of those lines. The doors are closed right now. Also over to our right, on the north side of Pier 5, another Ticonderoga class cruiser is coming to view. And that's over to our right, north side of Pier 5. Hull number 56, USS San Jacinto. San Jacinto is identical to number 60, the USS Normandy, who spoke about Pier 4. Next up on our right, Pier 6, on the north side of Pier 6 today, ship number 55, USS Stout. That is another one of the original style Arleigh Burke class destroyers, like her 3 sister ships that we saw earlier at Pier number 2. There are several Arleigh Burkes in service at this time, about 70 of them in service, and there's still more under construction. Usually we see more of them here at the Naval Base. About a week ago, there were probably 3 times as many of them here. Ahead of us to our right, Pier 7, south side of Pier 7, another one of the newer Arleigh Burke class destroyers. That is number 103, the USS Truxtun. Truxtun is identical to 107. Now on the north side of Pier 8 is a brand new ship. In fact, I don't think it's even been put into service yet. On the north side of Pier 8 is the Howard Lorenzo. It is is owned by the Navy, operated for the Navy by civilian crew, the Military Sealift Command. This ship is classified as a missile range instrumentation ship. A lot of tracking equipment on board used to track long-range missiles to test their accuracy and performance. Kind of like a cell tower out in the middle of the ocean, if you will. It will assist in guiding the long-range missiles. You can also track their performance. Next up on our right, pier number 9 on the south side of pier 9, a new class of ship. That is number 17, which is the USS San Antonio. First, the new San Antonio class LPD is constructed. It's the newest class of amphibious assault ship in the Navy. She's 684 feet long, 105 feet wide, has a crew of 361 and the ability of carrying up to 800 Marines. Opposite of number 17, up on the north side of that same pier, is number 21, bow facing our direction. 21 is USS New York. She's the fifth of the new San Antonio class ships constructed. During the construction of the USS New York, they recycled and used 7.5 tons of steel taken from the World Trade Tower's Ground Zero. That steel was used in part of the bow construction of the ship. The unusual looking structures on the ships over to our right, those are called advanced enclosed mast systems. A lot of the communications and radar equipment for those ships have been housed in the interior of the masts. Protect this sensitive equipment from the elements. The large angled sides on this mast also offer stealthing effects for the ships. Also at Pier 9 over to our right on the north side of the pier, 66, is the USS Gonzales, yet another Army Burke class destroyer. The next two ships that I'll point out are rather large and quite versatile ships. On the south side of Pier 10 is ship number 7, that is USS Iwo Jima. And further ahead of us to our right, number 3 is USS Kearsarge. Both ships are Wasp-class landing helicopter docking ships, or otherwise known as LHDs. The function of these large ships is to land a tremendous amount of Marines and equipment onto a hostile beach during an amphibious assault. To accomplish their missions, each ship carries between 35 and 40 helicopters used to shuttle Marines and equipment to and from a hostile beach. These ships also accommodate Harrier jump jets. Harriers are fixed-wing aircraft that have the ability to land and take off vertically, not requiring a traditional runway system. Harriers used to provide tactical air support while the Marines are going ashore. These ships also carry a variety of small boats, landing craft, and hovercraft that are stored inside of these ships in an area that's called the well deck. To allow smaller boats to travel in and out of these ships, they open a large door in the back of these ships called a stern gate. Once they've opened the stern gate, they will then intentionally sink the rear of these ships down to the water somewhat, done by flooding ballast tanks in the rear of these ships with seawater. Once the tanks are full of seawater, the rear of these ships become quite heavy. That's what causes them to sink down. And seawater floods in the well deck area, enough to float the small boats, which allows them to drive in and out of these ships. The Wasp-class ships are 844 feet long, 106 feet wide. Each has a crew of 1,292. Each has the ability to carry 1,877 Marines. These ships also have extensive medical capabilities. They're able to convert the inside of these ships into 600-bed hospitals. Hospitals on board these ships include a 21-bed intensive care unit, 21-bed trauma unit, and 6 operating rooms. These two Wasp-class LHDs over to our right are roughly the same size as a World War II-era aircraft carrier. Unfortunately, we won't see any of our carriers in today. That comes as a surprise because there have been carriers here for weeks now. And I just heard the carrier on the radio a second ago. It's headed out to the Chesapeake Bay right now. The carriers, by the way, are Nimitz-class super carriers that we typically see here at the Naval Base. They are a little over 200 feet longer than the Kearsarge over to our right on the south side of Pier 11. We'll still go into more detail about the carriers, though, in just a minute. Now, the last two piers here at the Naval Base are Piers 12 and 14, which are commonly referred to as the aircraft carrier piers. The Navy did skip the number 13 when numbering the piers at the base. Looks like the last ship we'll see out here today is docked at Pier 12. On the south side of Pier 12 is ship number 5, that is USNS Robert E. Peary. The Robert E. Peary is a fairly new Lewis and Clark class supply ship.